Good Friday morning. It is March 20th. Today, the vernal equinox. It's going to take place at 10:46 Eastern. Astronomical spring finally here. And that's one of our big weather headlines from the weather desk, where we always cover today's top weather headlines for Hampton Roads, for the region, the East Coast, the United States, and around the world. We're going to take you over to Hawaii with the story there. So we're not going international really today, but we are talking about even weather back out in Hawaii. We'll be talking more about that. You have found us here, 13 News Now. That's where we broadcast from, and we're glad you found us here on the Plus, 13 News Now Plus. Maybe you've got us on YouTube. I'm meteorologist Craig Moeller. We do the weather desk each and every weekday morning from 9 to 9:30. Let's get into today's headlines. First day of spring, as I mentioned, we've been waiting. We had some cold weather here in Hampton Roads. We've got a warm up. And speaking of warm, there's more extreme heat out west. We're going to focus, the past couple of days, it was really on Southern California, where they had some issues going on. LA, places down through Southern California, even San Diego, very, very warm. Today, we're talking about Phoenix, and they've actually had to put some restrictions on some of their hikes because those spots get so dangerously hot, and again, people can get into trouble. So we'll talk more about that extreme heat out west. Another story we've been following for the past several days, the wildfires out in Nebraska and South Dakota. There are more red flag warnings. We've got an update on containment. We'll talk about that and where new wildfires are popping up. And there's new wildfire AI technology to help folks combat and know what's going on with the wildfires. So we'll show you that and talk about some of the latest developments in our abilities to combat these wildfires. We're also going to take a look at the Hawaiian landslides. I was mentioning that story coming from Hawaii. They had heavy rain. We'll show you some of the flash flooding that, kind of prompted some of these landslides, and we'll update you on what they're dealing with there on the Hawaiian Islands. Typical last frosts around the 757. We mentioned spring is here. Do we have more cold weather to worry about? Well, we'll talk about the outlooks, the trends coming up over the next couple of weeks, but also the typical last frosts for our area. So stay tuned for more on that. Of course, your weekend outlook as well. Plenty of good stuff to cover. We're going to start off, though, talking about this being the first day of spring, and I love this so much because this winter was really chilly. We started off seeing below average temperatures as we finished out last summer, went through the winter, several months, very, very cold. We had some snowfall. We had some different things we were dealing with. I will say the month of March, as you'll see the kind of calendar so far with all the highs, we've actually been warmer than normal. We've had some hot days in March, but the last 3 days here in Hampton Roads have been below average. So I'm happy to welcome that vernal equinox, which takes place at 10:46. Now, I wanted to take a little bit of time here to explain why we have the changing seasons. You think, okay, well, the sun's higher in the sky during the summer. We know that the sun angle's higher and we get more direct sunlight. But have you really thought about why? Well, what's going on here? We have the Earth, and as it goes around the sun, as it orbits the sun, the Earth's axis is tilted. That tilt is 23.5 degrees. So that tilt, while it changes a little bit, there's a little bit of fluctuation over a 65,000 year cycle, it may fluctuate between 22.1 degrees and 24.3, but the changes are very, very slow in time. And right now, our angle is 23.5 degrees. With that tilt, when we are at the winter solstice, the sun's direct rays are in the southern hemisphere at their lowest point. Tropic of Capricorn. As it comes around, now we're at the spring equinox, or the vernal equinox. At this point, those direct rays are transitioning from the southern hemisphere to the equator. They're passing over the equator. Of course, in the summer, as we have that Earth's axis tilted towards the sun in the northern hemisphere, we get the farthest reaching northern rays falling on the Tropic of Cancer. And then as we go into the autumn equinox, the autumnal equinox, which will take place September 22nd this year, we go back over the equator and those rays fall on the southern. So that's the reason that we have these changing seasons. Now again, at 1046, we will be at equinox, and equinox is Latin for equal nights. The sun directly over the equator, and we will have those warmer months coming up. Excited about that. Ready for springtime here in Hampton Roads. Hopefully you are too, because the heat is coming, and now the southern hemisphere will start going into their fall and winter months. So what kind of weather do we have for the first day of spring here in Hampton Roads? You're going to see temperatures in the upper 60s. Our normal high is about 61, 62 degrees for most locations, so we'll be a little bit above average. We've had 3 days below average, so we're ready for that warm-up. Now, one place that does not want to deal with more heat, that's the western U.S. They have been dealing with this. It has been very, very hot for the Southwest. You can see San Francisco to 85, 83 in LA. They were in the 90s a couple days ago, so not nearly as bad. Vegas sweltering at 95 and 92 at El Paso, but look at Phoenix there, 102. So they're dealing with record heat, and it's already forcing the city of Phoenix to close popular hiking trails, which rarely, this doesn't happen this early in the year. Gabriella Bechara reports.
The view from Camelback Mountain attracts spring breakers from all over the country.
It was good. It was beautiful at the top. Definitely worth it.
But today, hikers were turned away by this sign, trail closed.
Other than the trail being closed,
which never happens in March.
It's too hot. I'm hoping that it cools off in this summer. This isn't a sign of what the summer is going to bring us.
The city of Phoenix closes several popular trails from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. on days when the National Weather Service issues extreme heat warnings.
We want people to come out and enjoy our preserves, but we also want them to be able to return.
The closures affect Camelback Mountain, Piestewa Peak, and 4 different trails at South Mountain. The more popular trails, but also the most difficult.
Harder to hike, and it's harder for rescuers to come and rescue you.
This rule went into effect 5 years ago and is meant to protect hikers and mitigate the risks for first responders.
We had a couple mountain rescues this week where individuals had slipped and fallen. We looked at their footwear. It wasn't the proper footwear.
Phoenix Fire Captain Todd Keller urges people to always hydrate the night before hiking, bring extra water, wear proper clothes and shoes, and hike at the cooler times of the day.
You have to realize it's going to take a couple months for you to actually, as cliche as it sounds, to warm up to this.
Even hikers who started before the 8 a.m. closures were feeling the heat.
I was just counting the little number markers on the way down and just counting down and trying to okay, almost there.
But many of them capping off this hot hike with a cool down.
We're going to go back to our hotel and swim.
I've never hiked Camelback, but I will say within the previous year, both my brother and my oldest son, they both had taken different trips out there, and they talked about how strenuous the hike is, and they're both really in great shape and very athletic. They said it was quite a hike, beautiful and well worth it, but trying to do it in this kind of heat is obviously very dangerous, and for them to shut down this early, that's unusual. All right, we're taking a look at Nebraska and South Dakota, and we need to talk about wildfires there, because in Nebraska, the heat and strong winds are fueling 2 massive wildfires, but crews are finally starting to make some real progress towards putting them out. So far, the Cottonwood fire has scorched more than 130,000 acres. It is now 78% contained, while the Morrill fire has burned 650,000 acres. That one now 67% contained. The cause of both of those fires is it is under investigation. Crews in South Dakota are also working to contain a wildfire near Custer. The Curry fire sparked last week and then merged with another nearby fire, and since then, the fires combined have burned more than 9,000 acres and several homes. On Wednesday, Governor Larry Roden toured some of the damage and says it's a miracle more homes weren't lost.
I was extremely impressed with how quickly the response time they were able to get resources on scene, and we're doing rough fire lines around homes and dwellings, and for the number of residents that are up in that area, pretty miraculous that they didn't lose more homes. And we saw fires that burned, within feet of homes, and yet they had resources out there that saved many, many, many homes.
Officials say 350 personnel are working to contain the fire, and that includes out-of-state resources from New Mexico, Colorado, Wyoming, and even Virginia. Right now, the flames are 44% contained. And I want to talk to you about the fire danger out west. There are red flag warnings once again across south central Colorado. You see Pueblo there and parts of the Front Range. Up towards Denver, they have a fire watch, not a red flag warning, but a fire watch as conditions may get worse here, and they could have more fire danger there. Up towards Cheyenne and so much of southern Wyoming and eastern Wyoming, Casper and Lander still with the red flag warnings. And as I mentioned there, Rapid City, South Dakota, back down through western portions of Nebraska, still with red flag conditions, meaning it's dry and it's low humidity there, and then you've got gusty winds. So you've got the fuel there ready to go. Now, with all of these fire dangers, we do have something that may help. It's a new AI tool that is helping firefighters detect and respond to wildfires more quickly. Carson Wells has details from California.
Anytime a fire breaks out, quick response can make a difference.
It's important for us to get there within 20 minutes, 30 minutes, nothing more than that, because that way we're able to keep the fires 10 acres or less 95% of the time.
CAL FIRE Battalion Chief Louis R. McGarrett says that in about the last 15 years, technological advances have made a huge difference in responding to wildfires quickly and efficiently. He says the use of the Alert California camera system has been a game changer.
The camera will send an alert to our emergency command center, and the folks will swing the camera over there and zoom in on it and see the size of it. And so with that very quick response of us not only going but gathering intel of how the fire started, how fast it's spreading, we're able to escalate our response.
A new company started by PG&E, Lockheed Martin, Salesforce, and Wells Fargo aims to advance wildland fire detection technology.
We want to make sure that our firefighters stay safe and that they have the right tools and the right coordinated technology to be able to, again, prevent, detect, and respond to fires quickly and safely.
The company is called Ember Point, and they are working on finding ways to advance wildfire response.
In order for us to utilize the wealth of information that we've developed on wildfire prevention and mitigation over the last 10 years, we're going to have to go through a regulatory process with the California Public Utilities Commission.
All right, we're going to turn our attention now to Hawaii. And as we head out over the Pacific there and check in on our 50th state, they've been having issues with heavy rain, and now a landslide near an iconic beach is causing some traffic issues. The western end of Waimea Bay is known for its rock that many people jump from into the water. Well, now a portion of the beach is taped off after a storm last week caused a landslide. That landslide also partly closed the highway above. The Hawaii Department of Transportation says crews are working to stabilize the slope.
It was pretty crazy. It looked like a pretty gnarly slide.
It's really scary. It's definitely really close to the beach. When we were coming in, there were some traffic delays, but we didn't know why. Driving up and seeing that was definitely scary.
Yeah, spoken like a true surfer, that first guy. Looked like a pretty gnarly slide. Love that. All right, traffic flow on the highway will likely be affected for at least a couple weeks. And again, that landslide happened after Hawaii got days of torrential rain. Take a look. Raging floodwaters destroyed a home on the island of Maui. The couple who lives there say they got out just before a swollen river swept the home over a hill. pretty incredible there. All right, we're going to take a look at what's happening across the country here, and you'll notice some cloud cover in the northwest. We've got some more action around the Great Lakes. We're going to focus in on both of these first. Again, rain around Seattle. You're seeing that up towards Bellingham and along the Washington coast. Nothing severe here, but there is some pretty significant rain coming back into that part of the country. Around the Great Lakes, you can see southern parts of Lake Huron, a little bit of mix there through the central part of Lake Huron, but rain primarily, and that extends down over Lake Erie and Lake Ontario. They've got some snow and some rain kind of mixing across Lake Ontario. There's a frontal boundary that is going to sag southward, and that area has a level 1 or marginal threat of severe weather. That includes areas around Charleston, West Virginia, Pittsburgh, PA, the southeast part of Ohio as well. And there's even this low level, but it is an enhanced risk of an isolated tornado. So that area, keeping an eye to things, and there could be some hail there as well as gusty winds. As we expand the view, you'll notice that's the only part of the country with any threat of severe weather. As we go tomorrow, we're not anticipating any. But I think Sunday, as another front approaches, we're going to get a front pushing through our area on Monday. That's going to cool temperatures a bit on Tuesday. But out ahead of that front, when it's working off to the northwest, there is actually a level 2 threat or slight risk for severe weather. So we've got the marginal risk in green, the slight risk in yellow, that level 2 threat, and that level 1 threat all the way down through southeast Missouri, Paducah, Kentucky, southern Illinois, much of central Kentucky, talking like Frankfort and Lexington, areas around Cincinnati and very close to Louisville. They are under this level 2 threat that extends up across southern Ohio. So that's what's going on with the severe weather threat. Again, for our area here in Hampton Roads, no threats here, and most of the country's in pretty good shape, but we'll need to keep a close eye to this on Sunday. All right, we're also keeping a close eye to temperatures, and coming up in 2 minutes, I will have not only your weekend outlook, but we'll also have more details on the typical last frost for Hampton Roads. Welcome back to the Weather Desk. I'm meteorologist Craig Moeller. We are looking at the month of March for Norfolk and the highs. Days above average shaded in red, days below average shaded in blue. And while most of the month has been above average, we've had some really hot days, a couple of record highs on the 10th and the 11th there, all the way up to 88 degrees. Felt like summer. Felt really cool out there in like a rad kind of way. Anyway, the last 3 days have been cool in a cold kind of way. And with spring officially beginning today, you may be wondering, Do we have to worry about more very frosty or chilly mornings? And when should we expect the final frost or freezes? When can we quit worrying about that? Chief Meteorologist Tim Pandages has the answer.
Understanding the average last frost and freeze dates is essential for gardeners in Southeast Virginia and Northeast North Carolina to optimize planting schedules and safeguard crops from late-season cold snaps. Let's start with the time frames in which we can typically expect to experience the last freeze, where temperatures dip to 32 degrees. Norfolk averages the last freeze around St. Patrick's Day, while Suffolk is about 10 days later. And it's not until the final few days of March that Williamsburg and Virginia Beach experience theirs. It's the later few days of March that Elizabeth City, Edenton, and Cape Charles need to be aware of possible late-season freezes, while Newport News sees an average last freeze around the beginning of April. Now, shifting to last potential frost dates, where the temperatures dip into the mid-30s, Norfolk right at the end of March, while Suffolk and Williamsburg, as well as Virginia Beach, run the possibility of a frost into almost mid-April. Now, Elizabeth City, Edenton, Newport News, and Cape Charles all average a potential last frost in early to mid-April, but could be as late as early May. Now, cool season crops can be planted shortly after the last frost date. Examples include lettuce, spinach, and peas. However, with warm season crops, it's advisable to wait until the risk of frost has significantly diminished. Crops like tomatoes, peppers, and beans should be planted later in April or even in early May. While average last frost dates provide a general framework, if you're getting ready to plant, be sure to pay attention to the forecast to be informed of any threats for frosts or freezes.
All right, some important dates there to keep in mind. Yesterday, we had a high of 51. The low was 34. We were chilly again this morning, down into the 30s. We are looking forward to more warm weather, and we're also going to see a little rain coming through tonight. I don't think it'll be much, but there will be a little bit of rain, maybe 1/10 of an inch expected. Winds are not an issue today. We are light. Temperatures are much warmer across the area this morning already, and it'll be significantly warmer this afternoon as temperatures climb up upper 60s to low 70s. So we do have that to look forward to. Note this rain chance coming in around 10 p.m. I think between 10 and, say, 2, pretty good chances for isolated to scattered wet weather. So today, upper 60s, low 70s inland. Tomorrow, upper 60s. We're going to push towards 78 on Sunday, 73 Monday. A dip in temperatures on Tuesday, then back into the low to mid 60s on Wednesday. Thursday, 67. Friday, 67. Saturday, all the way down into the 40s. It's going to be chilly out there. As we go ahead to Sunday and Monday, temperatures will be warming back up, though. As we take a look at the extended forecast, drier than normal for the west. You can see the southeast. Temperatures going to be warm, as you'll see, but also dry down across the southeast, wetter than normal across the Great Lakes region. So again, warmer conditions pretty much from the southeast U.S. all the way through the west coast. The one area with below average temperatures expected. This is the 28th through the 3rd of April. You can see the northeast U.S. a little bit below normal. We should be warmer here in Hampton Roads. Out on the water later today, starting around 4 o'clock, we will see small craft advisories going up. We've got a frontal boundary that's sagging into the region, and the winds should pick up a little bit ahead of it. We could see some gusts 20 to 25 knots. Here's a look at the allergy forecast, and we have high levels of pollen today. Cedar, juniper, elm, and maple all kind of doing their thing. We could jump into the future cast and talk about the sunshine today. How nice is this? Temperatures warming into the upper 60s, low 70s for the inland locations. As we head through the evening, you see the wet weather coming through. Again, starting off to the north around 10, pushing through at midnight, and during the morning hours, it'll settle down to the south. By 3 o'clock, just some leftover isolated to maybe scattered wet weather down to the south. That, too, will work away, and by sunrise tomorrow, I think we're in great shape. Now, this is a graph model you're looking at. If I were to pull the NAM or the GFS, you might see a few stray showers down here. Because of that, I don't want to totally rule out that chance of a few lingering showers. So I've left in about a 15% chance for your Saturday morning. I do think most of us will be dry, and we're certainly going to enjoy a lot more sunshine through the afternoon on Saturday. Temperatures warm once again, and then Sunday, the big warm up, temperatures climbing all the way into the upper 70s to low 80s. Just a gorgeous stretch of weather as we're moving forward. Temperatures today will range from the upper 60s near the coast to low 70s inland. Up on the eastern shore, upper 50s to near 60, Melfa to Cape Charles. A little cooler up at Chincoteague. We'll see low to mid 60s at Matthews, upper 60s for Gloucester, Urbana at 70, 61 at Sunnybank, so cooler up that way. Temperatures near 70 along the peninsula. In northeast North Carolina, the temperatures there, low 60s at the Outer Banks. Look at all the sunshine. Beautiful weather, mid to upper 60s, closer to the water, and then you come farther west and you find temperatures into the low 70s for a few spots. Should be a great day today. Tonight, passing showers developing late and then increasing clouds during the evening as well. That's one thing you will notice. Temperatures tomorrow morning in the low 50s, setting up a high tomorrow back in the upper 60s. I do want you to know with winds shifting to the northeast, temperatures at the beaches may fall off during the afternoon, but at least it'll be warmer across most of the region. Everybody warms up on Sunday, up to 78, back to 73 on Monday, cooler on Tuesday, and into the middle part of next week, another warm up. As you can see, the first weekend of spring is looking good. I hope you're able to get out and enjoy it wherever you're watching us from. I want to thank you so much for joining us. And remember, you can always stay connected with us through our mobile app. Have a great weekend. We'll see you next time.